Director Brown, members of the staff, honored guests. And it's a special honor to be here with the children of Louisiana. And I know I join with all who are here, and particularly the staff of Jetson here, to wish you the best and to wish you a bright future, in the hope that the experience that you have here will allow you to return to your families, to your neighborhoods, and to your communities to live a good life. I know that's what we all hope for our own children, and that's what we hope for you. It's a special honor for me to be here today and to receive this award, since it's the second award, and the person who received it last year, Chief Justice Kitty Kimball, is a person who I admire the most. Justice Kimball has been a stalwart in the juvenile justice reform effort, has been so supportive of everything we've done, and I have the utmost admiration for her commitment and her leadership in the area of juvenile justice reform. It's also been a pleasure for me to work through the years with Dr. Livers. I don't know a more determined person to make sure that juvenile justice reform succeeds and that it moves forward despite a lot of obstacles. Mary is a veteran of budget battles and has been a partner with the district attorneys of the state and with so many others in moving juvenile justice reform forward. There's so many other people that I've worked with over the last 10 years in the area of juvenile justice reform that are equally deserving, and many even more so, and so it's a special honor for me to accept this award today. Back in 2001, if I might go back just a little bit, I received a call from my neighboring DA, Doug Hebert, who was then the president of the Louisiana District Attorneys Association. Doug was the district attorney in Allen Parish. He's now retired, working as a consultant in the Calcasieu Parish DA's office. And Doug called me about this new juvenile justice reform process that I knew absolutely nothing about. I had not even heard about it. And told me he wanted me to represent the district attorneys of the state in the juvenile justice reform effort. And he said, I don't think it'll take a lot of your time. I don't think it'll require an awful lot of travel. Well, Doug missed the mark on that one just a little bit, I think. And I explained to Doug that my background was that of a felony prosecutor in adult criminal court, that I really had little knowledge or experience in juvenile court proceedings. And I was assured by Doug, then president of LDAA, and by Pete Adams, our most capable executive director, that I would have plenty of help. And I worked closely along with Baron Burmaster, who's now the executive assistant DA in Jefferson Parish, and with Ronnie Rosito, who was then first assistant district attorney in Calcasieu Parish, and still great friends. What I learned was in 2001, when I began to direct my focus toward the area of juvenile justice and juvenile justice reform, was that in so many areas, and particularly in the rural areas of the parish, similar to my area in Beauregard Parish, the city of DeRidder, our judges in the juvenile courts, so often their choice was between what we referred to as the functional equivalent of unsupervised probation and secure care. The judges were so often sending kids to secure care facilities because they had no other options. It was the only way for them to get services for kids, because we didn't have a system of community-based services. And so Louisiana had a lot of criticism at that point, underwent a lot of criticism for having large secure care facilities, but so often it was because judges saw that they had no options. So I was struck by the difference between the system that we then had in Louisiana in 2001 and the system that we found in the state of Missouri when I first traveled there in 2002. And it was sort of a coming home trip for me, because my father was from St. Joseph, Missouri, and one of the Phillips facilities we visited was in St. Joseph. But we went first to Kansas City, then to St. Joseph, and later on to St. Louis. And we were so impressed with the program in those facilities. We were so impressed with the difference between the facilities in Missouri and what we saw there and what we had seen back home. We were so impressed with the small cottages that they have, where 10 to 12 kids were grouped in a facility. The emphasis on positive communication among kids, the emphasis on self-awareness and self-analysis, traits that are so often unknown in so many communities. an emphasis on positive forms of communications, and on group effort, the dependency of one person on another for the success of the group. And so we brought that message back to Louisiana, not only about their secure care facilities and this small cottage environment, a family type of environment, much the same as you have now here at Jetson. But we also brought back the message that if we were to reform the Louisiana juvenile justice system, that we had to implement a complete system of graduated sanctions, beginning at the street level with officers and OJJ staff members, with counsel warn and release, with DA diversion programs, community-based services, local community-based residential facilities, all the way to secure care facilities, and that the reform effort simply wouldn't work unless we implemented the entire package from ground level up. We had, during that period of time and for a number of years thereafter, a seemingly endless series of meetings, the development of position papers, conferences all over the state, community forums. And it was an interesting group that would meet in all of these conferences where we were discussing the future of our state insofar as juvenile justice is concerned. Someone may correct me, but I really believe that this effort has been the most comprehensive reevaluation and reformation of any part of the criminal justice system in the history of the state of Louisiana. That's a mouthful. I don't think there's ever been an effort this large. You know, it took the state of Missouri 17 years to develop their model of juvenile justice reform. Our effort really began in full in 2003. That's only 8 years ago. And I know we're all impatient. We would like to all see it happen at once. But I learned a few years ago that this, as the saying goes, is really a marathon and not a sprint, and that it takes time and we have to be patient with change. In those community meetings, there were so many different points of view. We had judges, district attorneys, community activists, service providers, and so many others. We had often heated discussions about varying points of view about what direction we should go and how we should do it. But out of those often heated discussions and those differing points of view, we were able to forge a consensus among all of these groups about the direction that we should go with juvenile justice reform, and that we should evolve toward a system much like that in Missouri, a system of graduated sanctions, which takes into account the needs of the children who are entrusted to our care, the seriousness of the offense, the interests of victims back in our community. That we would need to develop a complete system of community-based services so that as more kids were retained in our community on juvenile probation and more kids were returned to our communities from secure care facilities, we would have services to offer them that would meet their varying needs. And we also recommended that the state, over time, construct a series of small-scale, regionally located residential facilities to serve the needs of those kids who require out-of-home placement. Throughout this process, I have to say that it took a lot of patience back home. And I have to thank my wife, Carolyn, for her patience and her support through the years, through these many trips to Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and just got back from Washington, D.C. last week, to Chicago, Kansas City, St. Louis, and many other places. And also my staff back at home who wonder where I'm going next. And I'd like to recognize my wife, Carolyn, over here. And I have with me our office administrator, Carol Williams, who also administers our Children and Youth Services Planning Board in Beauregard Parish, as well as the FINS program in Beauregard Parish. And Ms. Myrna Cooley, our former superintendent of schools in Beauregard Parish, who I'm proud to say runs our Truancy Assessment and Service Center in the DA's office, the TASK program, which we're very proud to have in Beauregard Parish. At the same time that those of us who were involved in the juvenile justice reform process were moving forward with our recommendations, and the state was moving forward at a measured pace in implementing those recommendations, the DA's Association, LDA, the Louisiana District Attorneys Association, was also busy in transforming our outlook as far as the juvenile justice system was concerned. The juvenile justice system in 2001 was simply a miniaturized version of the adult criminal justice system. And Louisiana wasn't unique in that respect. I think that was the case in most parts of the country. And we've seen a radical transformation since that time, and that's why it's very appropriate that we're talking about a celebration of change. But the district attorneys of the state of Louisiana have been a part of that process in the development of our Juvenile Justice Task Force with the assistance of the MacArthur Foundation, a task force composed of both district attorneys and assistant DAs. We developed a career path for assistant DAs. No longer do they have to think that they're only serving in juvenile court until they can move up to adult court. Those assistant DAs who have a special interest in addressing the needs of children can now look upon that as a career path in dealing with children's issues. We've elevated the status of those assistant district attorneys within the District Attorneys Association and have regular meetings of our task force. We have regular training conferences. We just finished a 2-day training conference for assistant district attorneys here in Baton Rouge, dealing only with those assistant DAs who deal with children's issues, whether it might be child support enforcement, child abuse and neglect proceedings, or juvenile court proceedings. We also have little laboratories all over the state, and the Louisiana Commission on Law Enforcement has been active in that. We have programs like a school-based early intervention program down in New Iberia, St. Martin and St. Mary, that was begun by District Attorney Phil Haney in New Iberia. That's a program that's a model of its kind that people all over the United States are studying. We have DA diversion programs all across the state, keeping kids out of the juvenile justice system. We have district attorneys like our office who are actively involved in the FINS program, task program, and other prevention alternatives. Has this process been a smooth one for the last 10 years or since the enactment of Act 1225 of 2003, 8 years ago? I don't really think it's been a smooth process, but I don't think many transitions are. I don't think you can expect a radical transformation such as we have undergone and are continuing to undergo. I don't think you can expect that to be smooth. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. We didn't anticipate Hurricane Katrina. We didn't anticipate Hurricane Rita or Hurricane Gustav. And we certainly didn't anticipate the deepest recession since the Great Depression. So all of these things have had a great impact on our state as a whole, and they've also had a great impact on the progress of juvenile justice reform. And yet we continue to move forward. And I think you should all be proud of that. I know I'm proud of that. We look forward with great anticipation to the opening of a new small-scale residential facility in Columbia in North Louisiana next year, with even greater anticipation for those of us who live in South and Southwest Louisiana. We look forward in about 3 years to the opening of another small-scale residential facility in the Bunkie area, which will serve Acadiana and the southwestern part of the state. We also look forward with great anticipation to the further development of the upcoming coordinated system of care. If memory serves me, Louisiana will be the only state in the United States with a statewide coordinated system of care. And I think that's a wonderful development. It's a challenge. It's a challenge. And we all hope that it will be successful in improving the quantity of services available to families and to kids, the quality of those services, and perhaps most of all, the availability of those services. You know, the juvenile justice reform process has caused us all to reevaluate our approach, to reassess how we do business, to talk about best practices, programs which are proven, to look to promising programs in areas where best practices programs don't exist, and to try to help develop promising programs into best practices programs. To rely upon the experience of others so that we don't constantly try to reinvent the wheel, and to rely on research studies that can be of benefit to us all. You know, sometimes in the area of juvenile justice, just as in the area of adult criminal justice, we have to strike a delicate balance. The Children's Code talks about the overriding factor in the juvenile justice system being the best interest of the child, and that's part of the equation. But those of us in positions as district attorneys, those of us in positions as juvenile judges, have to constantly strike a balance between the best interests of the child on the one hand and the safety of our community and the best interest of victims on the other hand. And we certainly hope that moving forward that we will, as much as possible, be able to strike a proper balance between these sometimes competing interests, and that as we go forward with the area of juvenile justice reform, we'll leave a better system for those who follow, for the kids entrusted to our care, and for the communities that we serve. Thank you very much.
I can reflect back on Sunday night when we took 12 kids to the lighting of the twin Christmas trees in Jefferson Baptist Church on Jefferson Highway. 8 staff and took 12 kids out there. Everybody in the community who was out at the program, they kept saying how nice our kids look, where they're from. They're the shirts and ties, so they were so well behaved. You couldn't tell the difference from our kids here than the kids in the community. We have some special kids at this facility, and we just want to thank them for the behavior and their goals they'll set for themselves, because you all do it so well, and we need you all. We need your cooperation.
It really is a privilege for me to serve as the secretary of this agency, and I'm so proud of the work that everybody does and the teamwork. I think we're getting better and better to work as a team. Probation and parole, along with secure care, along with central office. We all know the mission, and we all are dedicated to the mission. And just in closing, we call this a celebration of change. And that's really what we're all about. And for all of you who pray for, I just wish we could slow down and not have any more change. You can go ahead and pray, but you might want to pray about something else, because we have to change. We have to move forward. If you're not changing, you're not alive. Change is about life, and it's learning, and it's getting better. And hopefully we all use the gifts that God gives us, spiritually, individually, our talents, our positions, for the good of our own development and the person sitting next to you, the person in those groups, the people that you work with every day. We can use that power, the power that we have ourselves and the power of our positions, to do the right thing and make those changes that make us better, even though sometimes those changes are hard to do. So I want to encourage everybody to embrace positive change, and let's keep moving forward, and let's keep accomplishing what we think looks like the impossible, but let's keep doing it, because we know we have an important mission and we've got to move forward. And I know everybody's hungry and ready to eat. So thank you once again, Director Brown, all the staff, everybody who does their job, and OJJ, thank you for what you do to meet the mission. Our honored guest, Mr. Burton, thank you for everything that you've done to help the state of Louisiana and our children.
What was your reaction to winning the award?
I was surprised, first off, and then when I learned that the first award was given to Chief Justice Kimball, I was even more honored than before, because I have such great admiration for her, the work that she's done, and the leadership she's offered in this area.
Tell us your assessment of what's happening with juvenile justice in Louisiana.
Well, I think the system has undergone a transformation since 2001. At the time we began in 2001, the juvenile justice facilities were prison-like facilities. They were really a miniaturized version of the adult system. That certainly changed through the years. All of us became exposed to the Missouri model for juvenile justice reform, and we're rapidly implementing that here in the state of Louisiana. It's a therapeutic model based upon producing positive outcomes for kids so that they'll become better citizens when they're released back into their communities. The recidivism rate is lower. It mirrors the experience in Missouri, and the lowering of the recidivism rate certainly makes all of our communities safer.
Are you encouraged by the trends you're seeing so far?
I am, and I think you can see it with the kids, certainly the kids that I visited with here at Jetson and in Bridge City. It's a more hopeful environment. There's greater interaction among the kids. Kids are encouraged to articulate their feelings, their differences, their similarities, and it introduces a concept of self-awareness and self-analysis into the system that didn't exist before.
We do know, we're realistic, however, and we know that not every kid is gonna respond like we want them to. However, we're very pleased with the overall success. And just to let me say one thing, and that is for every kid that we can help turn around, we'll save the taxpayers $1.6 million over that kid's lifetime. It will save us that much money just to have one kid make better choices and turn away from a life of crime and become a productive, law-abiding citizen.
Are you optimistic about everything that you've seen so far?
I'm very optimistic. I know we're on the right track. I know we've got great employees. They get it. They're well-trained. They believe in what they do, and they're working very hard with our stakeholder communities. They're working with our judges, our DAs. They're working with our schools. They're working with our families, and they're very, very focused on our mission. And so that's what makes a difference. I'm very proud of the job they're doing.